Hello, freaks, geeks, and all those unique. This is EmceeFrodis, and we are reviewing this week's episode of The Mandalorian. This is Chapter 10, The Passenger. It was written by Jon Favreau and directed by Peyton Reed. So, oh my goodness, this was such a relief for me. This episode wasn't what I would call groundbreaking, but considering everything that was going on, it was such a relief to be able to watch something that was just for the sake of, watching an adventure. Not like if you watch my reviews of Supernatural or Discovery, there was such emotional upheaval with both of those. And then, of course, also at the same time, we have all of the American election stuff coming out, which was more emotional upheaval. So it was just, there was so much going on that when I finally got to this episode, which was the last thing that I had to watch, and just kind of nothing super huge happened. It was just like this, light adventure. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. You mean like I can just watch things for entertainment? I don't have to have my heart ripped out? It was just such a relief. Like, I kind of forgot what it was to feel something like that. So in this episode, we have the Mando heading back to the Razorcrest and meeting up with Peli, who hooks him up with a passenger who knows something about the Mandalorians, or a passenger who knows somebody who knows something about the Mandalorians. So this passenger is a frog lady, and that is the only thing we know her as, frog lady. Needs to get to another planet where her husband is, so that he can fertilize their spawn. And it needs to be done within a certain time, and also they need to travel at sublight speeds because otherwise the eggs will die. So, as we find out a little bit more about how light speed and sublight speed work in the Star Wars universe, and it does seem like that traveling at sublight speeds is considered dangerous, primarily because if you're going light speed, then at this point in time, people are not able to follow after you, because that doesn't happen until after The Last Jedi, that people are able to track people through hyperspace. Mando does not seem too pleased with the idea of traveling at sublight speeds. I find all of that very interesting because certainly I have played with the idea of traveling at sublight speeds. And I believe that I want to say that it's in one of the Aftermath books where it's talked about how Han and Leia had to travel at sublight speeds for a mission post Return of the Jedi. And it's actually like on one of those missions that they conceived Ben, which just puts lots of images in people's heads. The Razorcrest is traveling, and because they're traveling at sublight, they're confronted by two X-Wing pilots who, one of them we've seen before, Wolf, who is played by Dave Filoni. Obviously, Dave Filoni character is going to be named Wolf. And remembers the Razorcrest from his adventure, from the adventure last season in The Prisoner, Chapter 6. And that leads to some shenanigans, which the Razorcrest ends up crashing on a planet. And if you haven't seen this episode, which, I mean, like, there's spoilers all over this thing, so why are you watching this and having not seen it? But if you have arachnophobia, oh my god, do not watch this episode, because this episode is really bad for people with arachnophobia. I don't have arachnophobia, and I was still kind of with this episode. And it kind of gets all sorts, because you have a bunch of like little tiny spiders, but then you have like the giant mama spider that's like going after them. And yeah, that's kind of it. They're crashed on this planet, and they're trying to run away from spiders, and then they got to get away. It's a very light episode. Not a lot of stuff going on in terms of plot. I do think we're finding out more about Baby Yoda. We're finding out more about the child. The child is starting to develop more of a personality, and I'm looking forward to this. Because as I said in the last episode, there's obviously scenes that are put in there specifically to become Funko Pops. They're like adorable little scenes with the child. And there's still some of that in this. I like it. I think Baby Yoda's adorable. I certainly, can understand why we would want to have scenes of Baby Yoda just being cute, and like that's the only thing we really need. But I would like the child to develop personality outside of just being cute. And part of this is like, how when you have babies and they're just kind of like little lumps and you love them and they're so cute, but then they eventually grow up and have personalities, and it's like, oh, I can actually like appreciate you as a person. You can obviously tell I do not have children. I think is kind of what we're starting to see with the child. Child was very cute and kind of like just had to be cute while, in a scene. But now the child is, moving around a little bit more. I did love when the guys on Tatooine at the beginning that, tried to take the child. After the child is released, he just waddles his way over to Mando, and it's just so panicked that that was cute, but it was cute in a way that I enjoyed, because it wasn't just like, oh, he's such a cute little Baby Yoda. It was cute because it was Dadalorian, which is what I'm really here for. I want to grow this relationship between Mando and the child. I'm not super crazy about the child's plot with Frog Lady's spawn. The plot being that the child wanted to eat the spawn and actually did eat several of them. I get it, because certainly they've done this before with Baby Yoda and frogs that had, were not just, in eggs. But we like Frog Lady. Frog Lady's family line was going to die out without those eggs, so I'm not really here for the child to eat them. And also, I feel like it's a bad precedent to set to just have, the baby be super cute, trying to eat things. Let's, move past this. Let's develop more of who the child is. And I do think that, I have hope that that sort of thing is going to come out. Now, Frog Lady. I'd like to have Frog Lady come back. I like her. I think that, she's she's very smart. We obviously don't get to know her very well because, she does speak a frog language that the Mandalorian doesn't speak, but she is able to figure out how to use the droid to be able to talk for her. And I thought that was not something that I expected, and I think it worked really well. And you could see just how bound and determined she was to get her kids taken care of. And, that obviously mirrors what's going on with the Mandalorian and the child. Really, there's not a whole lot to say about this episode. It's just kind of like this fun adventure. And I think that This is going to be a typical episode of The Mandalorian. This is the 10th episode, so now we've started to develop what The Mandalorian is. And I know a lot of people like to talk about, Moff Gideon and Ahsoka Tano and all of these people. I think those plots are going to happen, certainly. But I think that your bog standard episode is going to be Mando and the child do some sort of mission. Um, think of it, for those of you who know Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine kind of did straddle the border between episodic and serialized, because for the most part, your regular episode was something's going to happen spacey. We're going to go to a planet. An alien's going to come to the station. Something weird is going to happen. And then that's kind of going to be forgotten about in the next episode. But then you did have peppered through these ongoing storylines with the Dominion, and the problems between Bajor and Cardassia, which ran through the entire show. And I think The Mandalorian is kind of going to run that way, where you have the Mandalorian and the child do something, and then you will have peppered through these episodes that deal with the ongoing storyline of Moff Gideon and trying to find out where the Jedi are. And I think that's a good way for them to do it, because I think there's a lot of places that they can go with different sorts of adventures that the Mandalorian can go on. I am a bit unsure about the fact that this was another let's fight big creature episode. Right after we just had one, and the Krayt Dragon episode was certainly more exciting than this one, because it was a giant Krayt Dragon. But I liked I liked Mando's interactions with Frog Lady, and I liked what the child did. Now, I have some theories, let's say, about what's going to happen with the child, based off of this episode. And there's been a little bit of this for previous episodes. I don't want to say it's certain, but there's a very good chance that Ahsoka Tano is going to turn up. Like, we know that everybody's assuming she is. But I don't think they've had absolute 100% confirmation on that yet. But everybody's assuming it's going to happen, and the chances are very good. So I think that is going to happen. But when it does, and that is going to be the Mando finding the Jedi, because there's not that many Jedi left at this point. As far as we know, there's no actual, Yoda species that Mando can take the child back to. I'm going to guess that the species is probably extinct now with the death, or not extinct, but obviously endangered, with the child being basically the last of its kind. But I think that there was never a large species. I think that, in particular, Filoni respects George Lucas enough not to bring the Yoda species more into it than just having Baby Yoda. Because George Lucas was very protective of not having more than just Yoda and Yaddle. So I don't think we're going to find the planet of the Yodas. So it does come down to the Jedi, which at this point is... I'm including Ahsoka, even though I know she doesn't identify with as a Jedi, but she's kind of in that group of light side Force users. But we've got Luke, we've got Leia, we've got Ezra-ish, and we've got Ahsoka. So we've got 4 people that can potentially help out with Baby Yoda. It's not going to be Luke. It's not going to be Luke or Leia, because we can't get Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher in to play Luke and Leia. Well, I mean, I guess they could get Mark Hamill in, but it would be very, very hard for them to, age him down by 30 years for at the very least one episode. I don't know if they're going to do that. Also, it would... I don't really like the idea of Baby Yoda going to Luke. So then the other side of that is the Ahsoka Ezra thing. Ezra, I'm going to say, is not included in this for now, because obviously Ezra is still, as far as we know, is off with Purgles and Thrawn. Though Ezra lives, hashtag Ezra lives. But there's still Ahsoka. Ahsoka could always take on the child as her Padawan. There's a couple of things with this. One, Ahsoka does not identify as a Jedi anymore. Two, there's always the Jacen Syndulla of it all. Is Jacen Syndulla Force sensitive? And if that's the case, is Ahsoka training him? Would Ahsoka, being somebody who was raised in the traditional Jedi ways, take on more than one Padawan at a time? And I don't really see her doing that. And three is the biggest one of all, and probably the most important. I don't think the child is going to want to leave Din. This was, wow, just a really long way of me saying that I think that it is going to come to a point where Din wants to give Ahsoka the child to take care of. And I think Ahsoka is going to point out, it's like, dude, this is your kid. Like, he doesn't want to come with me. He wants to stay with you, and we see that in this episode. There's a lot more Dadalorian stuff with the child like running to him immediately after being nearly kidnapped, and there's lots of the Mandalorian holding Baby Yoda's hand, and lots of Baby Yoda holding the Mandalorian's hand, and the fact that there's a little hammock in Mando's bunk for the child, and that was just so cute. So I think that the Mandalorian is slowly making room for the child in his life, and I don't think that they can continue on the plot of we're looking for the Jedi through the entire series. Well, I mean, honestly, I don't know how long the series is going to go on for, but I do think that it will go on longer than just the 2 seasons. Now, if it was just the 2 seasons, yes, you could do give the child to the Jedi. But if it goes on longer than that, I'm sorry. This is kind of the Baby Yoda show. If Baby Yoda were suddenly not to be in the show, I know so many people who would stop watching it. So, and I mean, I don't think that they would get rid of the child anyways, especially knowing where so many of the influences for the show came from, because it is very much based on, Lone Wolf and Cub. You need to have Cub in there. You can't just have it be Lone Wolf. So yes, the child is always going to be around, and I think that in the first season there was this hesitance with the child, where it was kind of the figuring out who the child was and what the Empire wanted with child. And then this season is trying to find the Jedi, and it is just going to get to the point of the child is the Mandalorians. The child is a foundling, and like many people, I really want to see child-sized Mando armor. I know it's stupid, and I know the armorer said that the child would never survive the Mandalorian training, but I don't think that the Mandalorians really know what the Jedi can do. Certainly, we've seen Yoda be able to hold his own, and I think that the same thing would be able to be said about the child. And, I mean, obviously, I feel this way because I've done a picture of the child dressed up in Mandalorian armor and wielding the Darksaber, which I'm sorry, that is my ultimate wish. That's what I would like to have happen eventually. When it comes to me doing fan works, that's really just what I'm doing. That's me fulfilling my wishes because otherwise, who else is going to do it? And by the way, in that story, also, um, Mando is the one who takes care of the child forever. Um, the child briefly does study with Ezra to learn how to be a Jedi, but Mando's his dad, which I think we're going to keep seeing. So I've been going on a long time about the Mandalorian and the child and their dynamic. Not really talking as much about this episode because there's very little about this episode to talk about. It was an okay episode. It's not one that I think that really stands out as, oh my god, this is groundbreaking. It's just it's a standard episode. And that's not a bad thing, but it's not a particular good thing. It was honestly what I needed at the time because I needed something that was not emotionally taxing. So that I'm going to like it for. But had I watched this at a time when I was not emotionally fraught and I was just like, please just fill me with your Star Wars excellence, I'd probably be like, oh, that's it. So yeah, it's probably one of the episodes I like less than the others when I actually look at it. But The Mandalorian, the bar is so high that even an episode where I'm like, man, I don't really care for it all that much, is still better than a lot of stuff out there. So, yeah. Um, Comment below about what you thought of the episode The Passenger. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be reviewing more of The Mandalorian as well as other Star Wars stuff that's going to be coming out soon, including something that's coming out next week. I also do reviews of Star Trek, Supernatural, and many other things. So subscribe to my channel to see all of that. Share this video across social media. If you'd like to support me, you can go to my Patreon where you can get early videos, exclusive videos, access to polls. You can also buy me a coffee if you'd like something to wear. You can go to my TeePublic or Redbubble. Today I am wearing my Happy Beeps buddy. So, until next time, live long and may the force be with you. Thanks to these patrons for keeping the lights on around here. I very much appreciate all of the help from you guys. So if you want to keep watching more of my videos, click on my cartoon face over there and you can go directly to my channel and check things out.